I'd like to call to order this finance meeting on March 11th, 2024. We're going to do the invocation and the pledge by Mr. Cullen.
Thank you very little.
Thank you very much.
Lord, please help us make some good decisions here today. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Short and sweet. I like it. All right. Roll call. It looks like we don't have Mr. Robert, Mr. Turner, Mr. Arsenault said he's going to be a little late, and Mr. Melanson. Chair's additions. The chair would like to make an addition. Item O on the agenda, we're going to correct a clerical error. The not to exceed amount is going to be $1,040,145 instead of $1,240,145. So we'll just make that correction whenever we get to the item, but I just want to let everyone know that that is what will be happening. Item 4, public comment. If anybody has any item they'd like to speak on, just get a red or green card and give it to Miss Dawn, who is playing our secretary tonight. Thank you, Miss Dawn. And she'll be glad to get that to us, and we'll be glad to give you 3 minutes to speak on any item. All right. General business. Item 5, section item A. The quarterly update on the Ascension Economic Development Corporation activities, including meeting with stakeholders, allies, and current business retention meetings, and review of the project pipeline. Ms. MacArthur.
All right, good evening. It's our regular update once a quarter. So this one is for the first quarter of 2024. We have a very active and busy project pipeline coming into this new year. So at the moment, we have 34 total projects with a combined potential investment of $31 billion and over 4,700 new potential jobs. Of those, the ones that we are most focused on are our A projects, which are 8 active projects that have over $1 billion of new capital investment and over 280 new potential jobs. These are the ones that we believe will make a final decision within the next year on moving forward with their project here or not. So those are our most active. And then we did include, so I think I updated you last quarter on the feasibility announcement category. So those are projects that have been publicly announced but have not made a final investment decision. So we kind of pulled those out of our A projects to have a better representation of what's going on. So at the moment, we have 8 feasibility announcements that are valued at over 15 billion potential new capital investment dollars and over 1,000 new jobs. So just to close out the 2023, you can see what some of the feasibility announcements were just in 2023. So a lot of these will make a decision by the end of the year, some of them next year, and some even the following. So a lot of these are in a very long timeline looking at permitting and other front-end engineering before they can make a commitment to location. So then we had our regular projects that are under construction and announced last year as well. So for the first quarter this year, we've had 6 new project leads come in. 2 came directly to us, 3 came from Louisiana Economic Development, the state agency, and then 1 from our partners. So the trends that we've seen in these 6 requests is that they all have very large infrastructure needs. The majority of them have been in a traditional industry category, with 34% being in a new clean category. So the top chart is just where we get our leads from, but the bottom one I just added in here just to show you our leads from 2018 to 2023. So just to show kind of the increase in the amount of new projects using a cleaner or new technology that's in a renewable space. So this year we've had 2 site visits. We had Project Lit come, which is a renewable battery manufacturer. They came in February and toured 2 different site options. And then we've had WGS. This was their second visit. They came in December of last year, and then they were back last week. And they are focusing now on 1 site on the west bank of Ascension. And then our other main program is business retention and expansion. Lisa heads up that program. We've had 8 visits so far this year, and 4 of those visits uncovered some potential new projects that would create an additional $500 million of capital investment and 75 new permanent jobs. Universally, emissions reduction is a big topic, is how can these companies be cleaner and reduce their emissions portfolio, and then workforce needs continue to be a topic of discussion. And we are always working on what type of land we have to offer new project leads, and essentially we have a site survey that was conducted in 2023. We have a workshop scheduled for March 19th, so that's to evaluate all of the remaining industrial areas to see what makes sense to use as a site, potentially to put them in the site certification program. This year we have Mulberry Grove on the Riverplex Mega Park going through site certification, and then we are ready to take applications for any additional sites that are interested. And then the Riverplex Mega Park of Louisiana, we continue working on the Highway 1 connector road and how to connect additional phases of that road throughout the park itself. And then new for 2024, we have our strategic plan update. So that's underway. You probably received an email survey or you will receive a phone survey. That is our consultants that are working on updating our priorities for the next 3 years. We are also undergoing a rebranding, which if you see this next slide, all of our fun colors and logo from 20 years ago. So we have not ever updated, and we are doing that this year. So you may also have received or will receive some questions about our community from our marketing and branding company. And then what I guess everyone is most excited about is there will be a new ITEP program in 2024. So Governor Landry has released an executive order. There have not released any rules for that executive order yet. They're anticipated in June. So right now, we are under the executive order, but we don't have any projects pending, so there's nothing to worry about at this point. There won't be another Commerce and Industry Board meeting until March. If we do have something that would require attention, we will work through our existing process, most likely until the rules are released in June. But it should make it more efficient and easier to go through the process, where you may only see us now at this quarterly finance meeting instead of almost every quarterly finance meeting. So hopefully I can give you more information, but at this point it's a much more streamlined committee that will likely meet here and then off not this meeting. So it should be a positive change where they're still gathering the feedback from the locals, but not in this 6-meeting process that we have right now. So happy to answer any questions related to that.
Okay, we do have a couple questions, but I think I want to ask one first. So I know the governor's executive order, he stated that he doesn't want to include the mandatory hiring of the 10% of the local group. I know it's like one of the things that was talked about in it. Is that something, if it does come through, and I know you can't really probably answer this until June, but I just want to kind of put that out there, that if it does come through and that is something that we have to abide, can we encourage them to hire local?
So we always encourage them to hire local. Okay. So our resolutions did have a stipulation that just said we encourage you to hire 50% of your new hires from Ascension Parish. Now, obviously, that's not legally enforceable, but we do have that conversation. And the new executive order removed the requirement to create new jobs. So before it wasn't mandatory, but you had to supply a compelling reason why you weren't hiring if you were not putting any new jobs with your project. So that's been removed, but it still likely will have a new jobs component or a reason for retention. So it's not changing a whole lot fundamentally. It was just removing that must have a compelling reason in order to apply.
Thank you. Mr. Melasso.
Yes, I also have a few concerns about the ITEP executive order sign. So I'm not excited at all that we're no longer going to have a say-so in it, which I know you don't know all the rules yet. Also, the local communities are not going to be invited to the meetings, you said. I think there's like 6 or 8 meetings over the next few months leading up to June. I
don't know about any of the meetings for making the rule changes, but essentially what it changed the committee to was 5 or 6 people on the committee that represent the decision makers. So I think in this role, it would either be the council chairman or the parish president. And the executive order didn't stipulate council, it was police jury. So that's where the rules need to come in and clean up language that can be changed. And then it's a public meeting, so anyone is welcome to come and attend those ITEP meetings. And essentially, that council is just making a recommendation, but it's not the way it is now, where when you're doing your resolution, you're actually saying yes, and they're supporting it. So if this council said, we want to support an ITEP, and the governor said, I don't, then he says no, and his answer is the answer. So it's a little bit different in that way, where before, the locals, they gave their input and that was the answer, but now the governor has the ability to say yes or no, even if that's not what the local board has expressed. I guess that's the major change. But you're always welcome to come. So any meeting, you will be welcome to be there, and
I'm a lot more comfortable when I'm welcome to vote.
I totally understand. We're not involved in the rules and we're not involved in the
I know.
changes, but we're here to help facilitate whatever the new process is that comes through.
You good?
Yeah.
Mr. Robert?
I know the governor issued an executive order concerning the ITEP. Before that, Governor Edwards had changed the ITEP to change the balance of the power of it from local to the state. Now, although the power's been taken kind of from the board for now, do we know anything else as far as R, meaning the local government, maybe will have a little bit more say or not say, or does he make any, comment toward that?
Yes, so I think what it did was remove having each jurisdiction have a separate resolution when it came to the tax yes or no answer. Now it's this one board that will have a representative from each taxing entity that will make the recommendation instead. So right now, we come to finance and council, those two meetings. We go to 2 meetings of the school board, and then we meet with the sheriff. And so each of those entities sends in a yes or no resolution regarding approval to participate in the ITEP. So this new group will be made up of one representative of each of those.
And currently, or I say currently, before this, it was just a resolution anyways for the,
Before this, if the Board of Commerce and Industry voted to approve it, then it happened. There was no local information at all. So there was no approvals from the local bodies. So when Governor Edwards changed the program, that required each taxing entity to either approve or deny the ITEP participation request. So now it's essentially going back more towards what it used to be, where C&I gets to make a vote yes or no, and then the locals get the information and make a recommendation. And then the ultimate final answer is the governor decides yes or no at the end of that.
okay. And secondly, I had a question in regards to the business retention that we do, or that you do, reaching out to the local businesses. And is that in the sense of following up to see if they're meeting their specific regulations or guidelines they agreed to, or is it more so for new business? And if so, if it is new business, what programs are we offering? Is it strictly tied to ITEP, or are there other programs?
So all businesses are eligible for all the incentive programs. So what we do at the BRE visits is we talk to them about future plans. So if it's 2 years, 5 years, when would they consider doing an expansion, just so they are aware of whatever incentive programs are existing that they could utilize. It is for all existing businesses, so it doesn't matter size or type, that we will visit with any of those local existing businesses. And then we talk in general, so if they've had a recent project, we get updates on how their project is going, but we don't do the compliance. So the state handles all the compliance.
So as far as the existing businesses, the ones that you, because clearly you can't reach out to all of them every year, but is there a way that you could possibly, not necessarily visit, but, have some point of contact with them to have those types of conversations?
So we do have an economic driver list that the state gives us, so there are 25 companies that we have to meet with every year. So that's part of a program we do with Louisiana Economic Development. And then on top of that, we visit with a lot of chamber members and and businesses that we interact with at other events. So if we're at a Gabria or a subcontractors meeting or anything where there's businesses that maybe we wouldn't have interacted with otherwise, then we go out of our way to set up meetings to make sure that if we've never touched them before in the community, we can reach out to them.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, sir. All right, any other questions for Ms. McCarthy? Thank you very much, Kate, we
Great,
appreciate it.
thanks.
All right, item 5B, approval of legal services contract with Keen Miller LLP for services to Fire District Number 3 for preparation of trust documents for the retiree medical plan, coordination with health plan, pension plan, and related documentation, consultation with respect to related tax consequences, regulatory compliance. Total contract amount not to exceed $8,000. I have a motion from Mr. Melanson. Second from Mr. Varnado. Any questions? Any objections? Item will go to full council. 5C, approval of an act of donation by Ascension Parish Fire District Number 1 of 3 fire vehicles to the Jonesville Fire Protection District. The vehicles are as follows: one 1992 GMC tanker, VIN number 1GDP7H1M5NJ519116, one 1992 GMC tanker, VIN number 1GDP7H1M6NJ51925, and one 1985 Spartan L10 Rescue, VIN number S29MT9U05FC423818. I have a motion from Mr. Joseph and a second from Mr. Melanson. Do I have any questions? Any objections? Motion will be sent to full council. Item 5D, approval of an intergovernmental agreement between the Parish Fire District 1 and the City of Gonzales to provide fire protection and related emergency services by the Gonzales Fire Department to areas outside of the corporate city limits of the City of Gonzales. This agreement will be for 3 years, commencing on the first day of January 2024 and ending on the 31st day of December 2026, extending for an additional 3 years upon approval of all parties. The total of the agreement is $120,000 for each year. Okay, is Mr. Robert here, or somebody here to answer a question for this? All right, Mr. LeBlanc.
Take my fire badge off
And put your
How you
fire
doing,
chief
Chief?
badge on.
and put my fire chief hat on. I can answer any questions
Mr.
on
Robert's
this
got
one.
a question for you.
Is this a new thing?
It's exactly the same thing we've been doing for years. The only thing we did was extended it from 1 year to 3 years, so we don't have to keep coming back here every year and asking for the same amount of money. This has been going on for well over 10 years. Only thing we changing is 1 year to 3 years.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'll
Any other
make a motion.
questions for Mr. LeBlanc? I have a motion from Mr. Melanson and a second from Mr. Arsenault. Do I have any other questions? Any objections? Be sent to full council. Item E, approval of amendment and renewal of cooperative endeavor agreement with National Water Infrastructure LLC to supply certain sewage treatment services to Renaissance Treatment Plant and to add an additional amount of $6,279.66 for the 2023 for a total contract amount of $94,279.66 and a renewal amount of $88,000 for 2024. This agreement is an automatic renewal, but requesting additional funds for 2023 and for 2024. I have a motion from Mr. Joseph. A second from Mr. Melanson. Do I have any questions? Any objections? That motion will be sent to full council. Item F, approval of cooperative endeavor agreement between Ascension Parish Government and National Water Infrastructure LLC. The parish is selling certain sewer franchise rights to NWI, subject to provisions of the sewer conveyance and franchise agreement. A portion of the sewer system in Hillaryville was improved by the parish using grant funds, and these improvements cannot be transferred until February 28, 2029, delayed transfer date. This CEA will grant access and control of the Hillaryville system to NWI until the delayed transfer date, while the parish maintains ownership of the Hillaryville sewer system. I have a motion from Mr. Melanson and a second from Mr. Joseph. Do I have any questions? Any objections? That motion will be sent to full council. Item 5G, approval of amendment number 2 to the agreement for lobbying services with the Picard Group LLC to extend the contract term through December 31st, 2024, and to increase the contract amount by $130,000 for a new not-to-exceed contract amount of $175,000. I have a motion from Mr. Melanson and a second from Mr. Robert. Do I have any questions? Any objections? That will be sent to full council. Item 5H, approval to replace Exhibit A to the ordinance declaring surplus and authorizing the sale and/or transfer of miscellaneous movable equipment adopted by Parish Council on February 15th, 2024, due to a typographical error on page 2, line 37, stating the incorrect VIN. I have a motion from Mr. Hillensback, or PT, and second from Mr. Hillensback. Do you have any questions? I think it's in the packet. I'm not saying another VIN if I don't have to. Any objections? All right, that'll be sent to full council. Item I, approval of the renewal of the master contract for professional services between Ascension Parish Government and Roberto Macedo and Associates for administrative consultant services for the funds received through the Department of Housing and Urban Development Program, Section 8 Housing. The contract not to exceed amount is not to exceed $75,000. Have a motion from Mr. Robert and a second from Mr. Hillensback, and I have a question from Mr. Joseph.
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Lady and gentlemen, good evening. My name is Roberto Macedo. I'm the administrator of your Section 8 Rental Assistance Program. I've had the privilege and the honor of serving for the administrator of the Section 8 program. I don't know how many years. I forgot. Mr. Oliver, you tell him how many.
And that's one question I had for you, Mr.
At
Macedo.
any rate, do you all have any questions?
I do. What are the numbers now? And I know before it was under 200. Have that number increased in Ascension Parish? Did it cover both sides of the river on the,
Unfortunately, because of the federal deficit and many other factors, the Section 8 program just nationwide hasn't grown that much. We are at 105 families that we can assist one given month, but it stayed there at 105.
and that's for the whole parish, correct?
Is for the unincorporated areas of Ascension Parish. The city of Donaldsonville has its own Section 8 program, and that is for 85 families altogether.
Okay. So that number haven't changed since?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any objections? All right, that motion will be sent to full council. Item 5J, update on the cooperative endeavor agreement between Ascension Parish and Our Lady of the Lake Hospital. Ms. Colleen.
Good evening, everyone. All right, I haven't used this before. So, good evening, council members. Thank you all for allowing me to take the time to provide a quarterly update on Healthy Ascension, which is the cooperative endeavor agreement between Ascension Parish Government and Our Lady of the Lake Health. Since we do have many new council members here, I'm going to kind of back up a little bit and give you an overview of what this CEA looks like, and I'll also provide some updates of where we are today. So the mission of Healthy Ascension is to ensure quality public health and healthcare services are available to citizens of Ascension Parish through the expansion of mental and behavioral health services, primary and preventive care, school-based health care, and community wellness initiatives. Our next slide really shows that we entered into the CEA with Our Lady of the Lake Health in June of 2023. And they assumed the operations of both the public health unit and the Ascension Counseling Center at that time. In addition to running the operations of these two clinics, Our Lady of the Lake Health was charged with assessing and expanding services on the West Bank. Over time, additional resources will be provided to our recreation department, as well as expanding child health services throughout the parish. So this slide here shows the leadership from Our Lady of the Lake Health that are supporting Healthy Ascension, and today we are joined by Dr. Chris Trevino, Ms. Shabry Marks, Ms. Leslie Tilley, who's not on here on this slide, as well as Ms. Lauren Lang. So in the following slides, I'll go over the services that are provided in the health unit, in the Ascension Counseling Center, and as well as future services that will be provided via a mobile health unit. So here, the services that are provided in our health unit are similar to those that are provided in all the health units across the state, with the exception of primary care. This partnership with Our Lady of the Lake Health has allowed us to offer primary care services for residents aged 6 weeks and up. While a few health units in the state are co-located with medical clinics, ours is the only one where residents can see a primary care provider as well as have a WIC or immunization visit at the same time, all in the same place with the same front desk staff and an intake member, as well as the same electronic health record. Services provided at the Ascension Counseling Center are also listed here. Over the last 7 months, Our Lady of the Lake Health has really worked to fill many vacant staff positions, and they only have 3 remaining providers that are to be hired, which includes 2 LPCs and 1 licensed master social worker. And then the mobile health unit. So mobile health unit services will be the realization of the vision to expand services to the West Bank. Our Lady of the Lake Health has been working with Ascension Parish School Board on writing and developing a cooperative endeavor agreement that will provide physical, mental, and behavioral health services in the mobile health unit that will park on the school's properties. Children who have a signed permission slip from a parent or guardian can then be referred by a school nurse or school counselor to the mobile unit to be seen for whatever health needs they have at the time. This CEA, the agreement, the CEA between OLOL Health and Ascension Parish School Board will be reviewed at the April 9th school board meeting. So community health. So Healthy Ascension has also been very active in our community. So I'm just going to run through a few slides that show different events that they participated in. So this first one shows a flu shot clinic where one of Our Lady of the Lake's mobile units went on to the West Bank and provided shots. The second one, they have been providing healthy lifestyle classes at the WAG Center. This was a 6-week program in the evening for adults, and when it ended, many of the participants asked that it be continued. So they are continuing this at the WAG Center and then looking at another site on the West Bank to offer this. And then self-care, working with Ascension Parish School Board, Our Lady of the Lake staff went and provided self-care classes to school counselors because we know they can't take care of our kids if they aren't taking care of themselves as well. And then the Healthy Lifestyles, they're also doing that and were integrated into some of the summer camp activities at the WAG Center last summer. So this next slide will show you an update of the financials for quarters 1 through 2. And just so you know, their fiscal year runs very differently than our fiscal year and then when the CEA started. So what you'll see is actually the CEA started in June 23, but quarter 1 will actually be July 23, July through September, and then October through December, just so that's how they report their numbers, and it was much easier. So here is the high-level overview of the financials and visits at the bottom from the first 2 quarters. Please note the important operating income line. These funds will be invested back into Healthy Ascension and will assist once the mobile health unit starts running. It will assist with recreational programs and other initiatives that will be identified through different planning processes. For the visits, for public health, you can see the total numbers there, and I ran a few numbers prior to coming in here. We don't, because we moved from one way of keeping records into the Epic electronic health record. It's not easy. We don't have apples and apples here. We're combining numbers. It feels like apples and oranges. So, but what we have seen is an average of a 32% increase in the number of visits from the same time last year. So when I pulled July through December, it looked like a 32% increase. You will see some seasonal variations. In the health unit, we always see a spike around back-to-school time because of immunizations, and now that they can provide sports physicals as well. And then there's always a decline in the holiday time. People aren't going to the doctor or doing a lot of those things around the holidays. So that is, you'll see those dips, which is a pretty natural dip within the health unit as well as mental health. And unfortunately, with mental health, I don't have the numbers to be able to compare, but we will watch this, and as we continue to show you the numbers, we'll be able to compare kind of how it was when they took over moving forward. So this is the end of my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions, but as well as our partners from Our Lady of the Lake.
Mr. Pety?
Yeah, when you look at your numbers on visits and the slide, Q2 being the beginning of the winter season, and then Q3 being Q1 of a normal year, are your anticipated visits much more as far as it being, obviously in the wintertime, people are usually more sick or coming
Yeah,
out. Do
I
you
think-
see a higher number in Q3 than you would in like Q1 just as a proportion, or?
We should, I think it'll be different it depends on public health or mental health. Mental health, I spoke with the manager of mental health today, and they're seeing an increase just because they are really seeing an increase in the number of patients.
Okay.
But I would assume, and Shabri is shaking her head yes
Yeah,
to that.
I mean, I
Yep.
figure you've got more sickness going around. But again, we're new, so we're
Yep.
only seeing the
Yep.
first, 2 quarters. So I'm just trying to get a kind of an understanding of it, and I figured you would see. I just didn't know if you were like, hey, look, it's a 20% increase compared to every other quarter, or whatever that may be. But if you do have those numbers when they do come out.
Yeah,
I'd love it.
we would definitely.
Yeah, that's what
have-
I'm saying, we're getting close, so, but like I said, as a new county, I'm sure other members agree. It is important, public health unit is important, but we want to be able to account for, how many visits you're really getting. And I'd imagine it would be pretty high in that winter months, so.
Yeah.
Okay, appreciate it.
Of course.
Thank you, Mr. Pety. Mr. Malonzo?
Yeah, on our mobile unit, so what are we in visualizing, like to start with? Are we thinking, I know the CEA is not done yet. So I know early on last year, whenever we were talking, we were thinking about maybe once or twice a year, throwing in like a dentist. Right, we got a lot of kids who may go years without seeing a dentist. And also, is the mental health going to be present in the mobile unit as well?
Yes, I can answer it. So mental health will be present in the mobile unit for sure. And then I think with the dental, we'll partner with Care South or
Okay.
other organizations that provide dental. So Our Lady of the Lake is working on referral relationships. So Care South is located in Donaldsonville, and they do have dental there, as well as there's other dentists that we could potentially refer to, and as well, they'll do it on the East Bank.
Right, anything with vision?
Vision?
have the capabilities of doing vision and hearing screenings on the bus.
Perfect.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malonzo. Mr. Robert?
Yeah, I just had a couple questions as far as the CEA and where we were about a year ago with the health unit and more specifically with mental health. I know we had a lack of employees, and I know we had a lack of resources and also a backlog of some sort, with people having issues getting appointments and whatnot. That is my first question. And secondly, same question for the West Bank. And add on top of both of those, any programs or resources that you're using or have for drug and alcohol rehabilitation with the mental health.
So, okay, let's start with appointments and backlog. I know that Our Lady of the Lake has worked through that. I think that's one of the benefits of getting on the Epic electronic health record system. It's a pretty streamlined process. So the backlog of appointments has been taken care of. I think their schedules are full as far as hiring employees.
So about how long would it take to have a appointment scheduled for mental health? Say I make a call.
We have the court systems that are calling and getting in same day.
The court system?
Yeah, so
Okay.
we're working with them, they're calling, getting in same day. Anybody that's coming and calling from external can get in same day, next day as well.
Okay. I think they just want you to say the same exact thing for the,
They just went for the.
Yeah, I want to make sure it's in the microphone.
So we said that anybody working with the court systems can get in same day, next day, and anybody working that's external as well, patient calling in can get in same day, not next day.
okay, and about, and I mean, I know you don't necessarily have exact numbers, but your amount of employees for the mental health as opposed to beforehand.
Do you have the?
Well, so here, for mental health, the FTEs, I know that they just have 4 positions that are vacant at the time, so that's 3 providers and 1 patient access representative, whereas prior to that, and that's increasing the number. I don't have the total number, but there's only 4 vacancies at the moment.
So we have 4 vacancies, and how many? We have 3 plus 1 working there?
Yeah, so we have, for the full-time counselors, we have the 3 counselors that are providing consistent care. We have the nurse practitioner. We have a hired psychiatrist that's going to be coming on board in June. And
And
then,
how
but
often
of the
would they
council.
come? Would they be like a once a week, or would they have an office there?
No, the psychiatrist will have an office there.
Okay, full-time? Okay, very good.
Yeah, and then the vacancies that she spoke of are 3 counselor positions.
Okay, and West Bank,
So West Bank, we're still doing the explorations there to determine how we can navigate and move over there. But we'll start with the counseling service virtual on the bus that she mentioned and provide some of those services to the school board.
okay, and possibly even to the West Bank community?
Yes,
And I think that would be a thought, considering the transportation is an issue for a lot of people on that side of the river. And lastly, the drug and alcohol, the resources that y'all do or that you have internally or outsourcing or whatever else.
so we may have to partner again with some others, but I'm more than sure that the psychiatrist that's coming on board. And then we have an addictionologist that's kind of working with us right now, that's helping us build out some of those programs to bring to the West Bank.
But I mean, West Bank and East Bank.
Yes, both. My
Currently, we
apologies,
have-
but the East Bank, he's currently working there.
The
The addiction,
addictionologist?
yes, he's
Okay.
there once a week.
Once a week? So I would be safe to say we really only have one person once a week that specializes in drug and alcohol?
But remember, we're gonna expand those services. We're gonna continue to expand those services. As we continue to evaluate and determine what the needs are, we're gonna continue to grow those.
Okay, and, I mean, I only bring that up because
Yeah.
clearly it's a
need.
a huge need.
Yeah.
You know, and I know that it's something that a lot of people that don't have the resources or know about other resources will go to y'all. So I think that's important to get that. Any timeline expectation of having people on board full-time?
Well, it just depends on the hiring of healthcare staff, but those positions are vacant when we're actively recruiting for those.
Okay. And right now, you're just referring, or what are you doing for someone that comes in?
So right now, we have the counselors that are in place that can support that, but specifically for addiction services, we are referring out.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much for that update. We appreciate it. All right, item 5K, approval of amendment number 2 to the master services contract between Ascension Parish Government and Inman Enterprises LLC, DBA Janney King of Baton Rouge, to include a additional location of West Ascension Early Childhood Learning Center at 312 Mississippi Street, Donaldsonville, for cleaning 5 times per week, $4,335 per month, and one-time cleaning to prepare the opening facility at a cost of $5,081. Total amendment is $57,101 for a total contract of $1,294,093. I have a motion from Mr. Joseph. A second from Mr. Malonzo. Do I have any questions?
I've been there.
Oh, I have no idea.
Do we have somebody to?
Ricky, Ms. Colleen, one of the two. Yeah. What's the square footage of the?
7,500 square feet.
7,500 square feet.
And this is a one-time cleaning for 5,000?
And then, yeah, one-time cleaning 5,000 and then 4,000 every month.
Okay, and that's new construction, what are they cleaning? Like, is it just,
I mean, they're cleaning the contractor's leaving, so the dust,
so this is like sheet rock and other stuff? Okay, all right, just seems kind of high is what I'm getting at. $5,000 for 7,000 square feet.
but you're gonna have little babies crawling around, so we wanna make sure it's all cleaned up prior to there.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so I have a motion and a second. Do I have any more questions? Any objections? That motion be sent to full council. 5L, approval of renewal of cooperative endeavor agreement between Ascension Parish Government and Capital Area Human Services District for an additional year. The cooperative endeavor agreement is for the limited purpose of the parish assisting in monthly rental payments for the building currently housing CAHSD. The parish shall reimburse CAHSD $4,345.83 per month, which is one half of the monthly rental rate of $8,691.66. The parish shall also reimburse one half of monthly utility costs, total contract not to exceed $60,000. I have a motion from Mr. Malonzo and a second from Mr. Robert. Do I have any questions? Any objections? That will be sent to the full council for approval. Item 5M, approval to purchase the northern portion of the Denise Crafassi property located between Weber City Road and Airline Highway, just east of Roddy Road, per the recommendation of the Animal Services Board from their meeting on January 30th, 2024. Mr. Compton. Well, I heard a motion from Mr. Hillensback and a second. A second from Ms. Alonso. We still want Ricky Compton to come up here, though. I don't know why you didn't just come on up anyway. All right, Mr. Malonzo had a question for you.
Like we weren't gonna see you. Well, I'm okay with everything, but I'm still the same concern I had with the other one. I mean, almost 800 grand just for the property. Within, as far as the budget goes, are we actually gonna be able to do the project within budget?
Well, that's a great question, but we haven't designed a building yet. So based on the analysis that we performed last year, we think that if we purchased a property for less than $1 million, we would still be within our ability to build this facility.
Okay. Elevation, everything, no wetlands, right, on the property? I see that it looks like, maybe 24 to 30 inches of fill in some spots.
Yeah, I mean, that's a rough estimate. We don't have topo yet. There are wetlands, but they're not jurisdictional, so there'll be no permitting required to eliminate. But it's basically like any other site here in Ascension Parish. It's going to require a little engineering and a little design effort to make it work. But we think it's a great site, and it's within budget, and we're ready to move forward to the next phase.
All right, I'm good.
Okay, Mr. PT.
Chase covered my wetlands question, so we're good.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So I have a motion and a second. Do I have any more questions for Mr. Compton? Any objections? No. We will send that to full council. Thank you very much. And now we have a full house. Hey, Travis. Item 5N, approval of amendment number 1 to the master services contract with Delcon LLC for a maintenance mechanical support service to increase the contract by an additional $50,000 for a total not to exceed contract amount of $125,000. Yeah. Is Mr. Thompson here? There he is. Mr. Malonzo?
Good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
AJ, I'm sorry, so I didn't have time to go through this one. What's the additional?
So we just established this contract. It's a newer contract to use for services similar to what my crew does. But it's when we need things in a timely manner,
Okay.
or it's a larger job than my guys can handle.
Okay. Just to have them there in case you need them?
Yes.
Okay, I'm good.
I have a motion from Mr. Robert
A second.
and a second from Mr. Malonzo. Do you have any questions? Any objections? Motion carries. Thank you. Item O, approval of renewal of master contract for professional services for engineering review agency services between Ascension Parish Government and CSRS LLC, which includes a contract amount increase of $790,145 with a total not to exceed amount of $1,040,145. All right. Mr. Poche, you are needed up here. And Mr. Robert is up first.
Good evening, gentlemen
Good evening.
and lady.
How you doing, sir? $700,000?
Yeah, basically, we have a $250,000 amount. Daniel Helms Transportation is piggybacking off of our existing contract. We've got a regular $250,000 for our engineering review agency services. And the additional monies are for further development of the Energy Transition Parkway.
How many, or how much did we use since we had CSRS?
We have used last year's contract. After this month, we had about 38,000. After this month, we'll probably have about 20,000 on the ERA portion of the contract.
So-
You added $200,000 to the existing contract last year to get them started, and I think there's about $26,000 or $28,000 left on that right now.
So I'm missing the gap of why we need the 700,000.
Because they're expanding the services. That was for preliminary work. Now they're actually getting into design work and doing more exploratory work to further the project into the next phase.
Any examples of what they're doing? I mean,
Mr. Helms could probably speak a little bit more to that detail.
we're looking at doubling the budget for, and I'd like to see what we're getting.
Well, it's basically it's for two separate items.
No, I got you.
Yeah.
Afternoon. So the CSRS will be doing a full design for the Energy Transition Parkway Phase 2, along with doing geotech. I mean, we're on the West Bank in the Delta area, so the soil not going to be great. So we need to go ahead and do some geotechnical engineering work ahead of time before we start with the design. We also need to do environmental. There, being a agricultural area, there is a possibility of finding some cool stuff in the ground. There is an area that's already kind of been identified that may have some stuff underground, so we need to get an environmental engineer out there to take a look as well. But for a 2-mile long road, it's reasonable.
Okay. That's all, Chair. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. Molson.
So this is for the IDD, in the Modest area on the West Bank. They're gonna be doing like the infrastructure design?
Yes.
Gotcha. So let me ask you something. Maybe you can educate me, right? So if we're gonna spend almost 800,000 on the Move Ascension money on the infrastructure over there, and we created that district, are we gonna reimburse ourselves back into the Move Ascension program at any point with the revenue?
Oh, yeah, I guess I wasn't following you. I'm not aware that this has anything to do with infrastructure development district money. That's not, to my knowledge, that's not what this is. These are additional monies to fund design for the parkway, for the 2.1 miles of road that is gonna expand access into that area. I don't know that it has anything to do with the IDD.
Well, is this parkway going to be located inside of the boundaries of that infrastructure development district?
I see what you're saying. It's the EDD or the IDD, the
IDD.
acronyms, I think,
Yeah.
or, but I mean, that's inside, yes, it's within the limits of that area, yes.
I'm just trying to, I'm trying to wrap my head. So we created, right, this infrastructure development district, whatever you want to call it, right, to where there's an extra tax there that's supposed to pay for that development district. Just like Tanger Mall and Cabela's, like there's an extra tax there that pays for the infrastructure in that little district.
Yeah, I mean, now, yes, and that's something that I hadn't thought about. I'm glad you brought that up, because there is a district on the West Bank, and I don't know that those funds would not be able to be used on this. So that is something that we could tag those funds for, because I don't know that any infrastructure projects have been done on the West Bank that would have called for those monies. But those funds are possibly available to reimburse us for whatever's available there now.
The process will work. Once they start receiving some income, it will be a reimbursable.
Yeah, like, I know we're gonna have to front some money on,
Right.
on the front end,
Correct.
right? I mean, somebody's gotta build the
Yes.
road, you know, or the, I'm just curious if Move Ascension, you know, if potentially some or most of this 800,000 will make its way back, right, as that revenue is created from the taxing district.
Yes, I mean, personally, I mean, I don't know if anyone else could speak to this, but from my understanding and what I know about the districts and how they operate, I don't see why that wouldn't be an option that would be available to us. It's basically a matter of shifting money from one place to another. When it's available, then I'm certain that we could reimburse ourselves for the funds expended.
We have our CFO here, Ms. Dawn. Ms. Dawn, do you want
Yeah,
to speak
I
on it
mean-
if you don't mind?
So, yes, there's potential for that to happen, but you have to keep in mind that that district, you may not see the revenues in for a while, okay? I mean, this is design phase, there's also capital outlay involved with this project. So this is the road, correct me if I'm wrong, Daniel, that will connect to CF in the back of the property, okay? Instead of going along LA1. This is basically phase 2 of what we were trying to do. So there's a lot of different monies involved. We are starting with Move Ascension. However, once the district is there, and once money start coming in, that money can be used to pay it back.
Thank you, Ms. Norwood. Okay, I'm good.
Okay. Do we have any other questions? Okay, Chair will entertain a motion. I have a motion from Mr. Joseph and a second from Mr. Melanson. Do I have any objections? All right, we sent to full council. Thank you, Mr. Bochet. Item 5P, approval of amendment number 2 to the cooperative endeavor agreement for security and law enforcement services between Ascension Parish Government and Ascension Parish Sheriff to add additional scope for security at the Ascension Parish Courthouse in Gonzales. The additional scope will be for a not to exceed amount of $90,000. I have a motion from Mr. Robert and a second from Mr. Hillensback. Do I have any questions? Any objections? All right, that motion will be sent to full council. Item 5Q, approval of amendment number 1 to the master contract for professional services with Quality Engineering and Surveying LLC for Prairieville Park turf infield and restroom upgrade to increase the contract price by an additional $11,500 for a total contract price of $60,000 to include additional electrical design for full field lighting and replacement at Prairieville Park. I have a motion from Mr. Lawson and a second from Mr. Arsenault. Do I have any questions? Any objections? That'll be sent to full council. Item 5R, approval of change order number 1, Jones Construction Solution LLC for Butch Gore Park renovations project to increase the contracted time by an additional 31 days for a new substantial completion date of March 31st, 2024, and to decrease the contract price by $9,904.26 for a new contract price of $2,793,134.74 due to a reduction in linear footage of walking path and a change in the design of the path. This change is also inclusive of a location and documentation of all underground utilities. I got 100 motions in 100 seconds. I will give it to Mr. Barnadoe and Mr. Melanson. Any objections? I do have a question for Mr. Melanson.
We could be done for April?
April 10th.
All right.
So as you'll see on the next change order proposal, we extended it to the 10th, but the field should be finished by March 31st.
March 31st, okay.
Just pray for the rain to stay away.
Yeah. So we're on pace for softball, normal schedule, good to go? Awesome. Oh, I didn't see Mr. King sitting back there. Okay.
He was hiding.
No, I got the last 2 weeks, every time I see someone, they're asking about Butch Gore, so I said, man, nothing's gonna be delayed, so just trying to see if I was lying.
He's making promises for you.
That's it.
Yeah, no, they're on schedule to finish up with the fields, be ready to go by the time they start games. We've been working with the city of Gonzales to prep for practices right now, so that's going well. We've got some backups just in case, but it looks like we're going to be ready to roll right on into game time.
Okay, Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. I have a motion and a second. Do I have any objections? Any other questions? We will send that to full council for approval. Item 5S, approval of change order number 2, Jones Construction Solutions LLC for Butch Gore Park renovations project to increase the contract time by an additional 10 days for a new substantial completion date of April 10th, 2024, and to decrease the contractor price by $9,143 for a new contract price of $2,783,991.74 due to removal of lime stabilization and elimination of 4 inches of gravity sewer pipe from the new restroom and electrical service from well power supply panel to the new restroom. I have a motion from Mr. Melanson and a second from Mr. Arsenault. Do I have any questions? Any objections? That motion will go to full council. Item 5T, approval of change order number 2, Delcon LLC for South Louisiana Fairgrounds softball backstop replacement to decrease the contractor price by $10,000 for a total contract price of $342,000. This deduction is for removal of utility relocation allowance not used during the project. I have a motion from Mr. Melanson and a second from Mr. Joseph. Do I have any questions? Any objections? Motion will go to full council. Item 5U, approval of change order number 1, Geosport Lighting Systems for South Louisiana Fairground Field Lighting to increase the contract price by $12,393.32 for a total contract price of $482,393.32 for boring of a new conduit under Field 1 for scoreboard power and controls. This was repaired scoreboard wiring and conduit. I have a motion from Mr. Joseph and a second from Mr. Melanson. Do I have any questions? Any objections? That will be sent to full council. Item 5B, bid results and approval to enter into a contract with NCMC LLC for the Ascension Parish Water Sector Program Round 1. Total contract not to exceed $3,148,000. I have a motion from Mr. Melanson and a second from Mr. Robert. Do you have any questions? Any objections? Well, that will be sent to full council. Item 5W, approval of amendment number 6 to the master contract for professional services with T. Baker Smith LLC to modify project scope to better align with new federal and DOTD policy for LA Highway 3127 extension environmental assessment in the amount of $199,466, which revises the total contract not to exceed amount to $1,267,451. I've got a motion from Mr. Melanson and a second from Mr. Joseph. Do I have any questions? Any objections? Be sent to full council. Item 5X, approval of change order number 1, R.J. Daigle and Sons, Inc. for the Ascension Parish Overlay Program, Project H.014704.6 to reimburse the contractor for LADOTD's requirement to purchase owners and contractors' protective liability, OCP insurance, and to add quantities for pavement patching and to account for pavement conditions during construction. The change order will increase the contract amount by $46,679.24 for a new contract amount of $3,844,329.8, that big number, 47 cents. And I have a motion from Mr. Robert. Second from Mr. Varnado. Do I have any questions? Any objections? We'll move that to full council. Item 5Y, approval of change order number 2, R.J. Dagles and Son Contractors, L. Inc. for the Ascension Parish Overlay Program, Project H.0014704.6 to reconcile quantities of asphalt, concrete, and Lemonville Cutoff Road and temporary pavement markings on Causey Road, Merritt Evans Road, T-Bolt Road, and Lemonville Cutoff Road, and to account for, as constructed, conditions that ran over planned quantity. Change order also includes asphalt and fuel adjustments for March through June of 2023. Change order will decrease the contract amount by $8,732.14 for a new contract total amount of $3,835,597.33. Motion from Mr. Joseph and a second from Mr. Arsenault. Do I have any questions? Any objections? That will be sent to full council. Item 5Z, approval of change order number 3, R.J. Daigle and Sons Contractor, Inc. for the Ascension Parish Overlay Program, Project H.014704.6 to add 18 calendar days to the construction contract of the total of 238 calendar days and adjust quantities for milling on Post Office Road, handicap curb ramps on South Prepare Avenue, and permanent pavement markings on Causey, Merritt Evans, T-Bolt, and South Prepare and Lemonville Cutoff Road. To account account for the as-constructed conditions that ran over the planned quantities. Change order will increase the contract amount by $20,741.44 for a new contract total amount of $3,856,338.77. Motion from Mr. Robert. And second from Mr. Hillensback. Do I have any questions? Any objections? That will be sent to full council. Item AA, approval of change order number 4, R.J. Daigle and Son Contractors, Inc., for the Ascension Parish Overlay Program, Project H.014704.6, to add quantities for curb removal, additional concrete sidewalk, and handicap work on South Prepara, East Tiffany, South T-Balt Drive, and LA 3089. Change order will increase the contract amount by $27,999 for a new contract amount of $3,884,239.76. I have a motion from Mr. Peattie and a second from Mr. Hillensback. Do I have any questions? Any objections? That will go to full council. Item BB, 5BB, approval of change order number 4, Hendricks Construction, Inc., for PR 929 and Parker Road Roundabout Project in the Move Ascension Program, Project H.006457.6, to allow reimbursement to contractor for costs incurred during work zone police monitoring services from 10/18/23 to 11/13/23. This change order will increase the contract amount by $24,800 for a new total contract amount of $2,426,309.34. I have a motion from Mr. Turner and a second from Mr. Hillensback. Do I have any questions? Any objections? That will be sent to council for full approval. Item 5CC, approval of change order number 5, Hendrick Construction, Inc., for the PR 929 and Parker Roundabout Project in the Move Ascension Program, Project H.006457.6, to allow payments to the contractor for lost time due to unforeseen utility conflicts. This change order will increase the contract amount by $171,381.58 for a new total contract amount of $597,690.94. I have a couple questions, Mr. Helms. Mr. Melanson is up first.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Helms, how are you?
Doing good yourself.
Oh, so it says the delayed costs associated with change order is recoverable by the parish. How is that so?
We can go back to the utility company and request payment for the fact that they were supposed to be out of the way and they were not.
A request, or is it guaranteed?
Well, I mean, we have to pursue it first, but I believe there's a pretty strong case for at least one of them.
Yeah,
This is part of the damages that we're seeking in the Demco case.
okay. All right.
Good. Mr. Robert?
Total number of damages again?
It's about $171,000.
171,000?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and for how many days?
I believe it was calculated, or it was north of 30 days.
Is there anything that we can put in this that makes it, I guess, if we don't get reimbursed, we don't pay them back?
Can we legally do that?
John Paul?
It'll be up to the courts ultimately, but, yeah, we're fronting the money on this.
But, and I mean, it's fine to front money if it's something that it's like a process, but this isn't necessarily guaranteed, is what I'm hearing.
Correct, but we're trying to complete the roundabout at this point, is my understanding. And so the contractor expended the time or had the delay, and so we pay on the front end and we seek it on the back end from the utility.
Do we have any type of expenses or any type of justification for the cost?
Yeah, the contractor provided all that information within the change order paperwork on how they came up with that money, or came up with that dollar amount.
Okay. And is that comparable within the norm of that?
It's all based off of equipment use charges, rental costs, et cetera. So they were using defined guidelines on how they came up with that money. And it's a DOTD process. It's a DOTD project, so they're following the DOTD process on getting compensated for this delay.
That's the only questions I have.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Helms. Do we have any other questions? All right, Chair will entertain a motion. I have a motion to approve from Mr. Varnado and a second from Mr. Robert. Do we have any objections? All right, item move to full council. Item 5DD, approval of change order number 6, Hendrick Construction, Inc. for the PR 929 and Parker Road Roundabout Project and the Move Ascension Program, Project H.006457.6, to correct a mathematical error on change number 4. The change order will decrease the contract amount by $2,660 for a new total contract amount of $2,595,030.94. I have a motion for Mr. Hillensbeck. And a second for Mr. Malonson. Do you have any questions? Any objections? That'll move to full council. Item 5EE, approval of resolution to adopt the inventory and proposed priorities for the capital road improvements in accordance with the unitary plan of operation for the selection of parish roads for new construction and maintenance of the parish road system for 2024, 2025, and 2026. I have a motion from Mr. Robert. I have a second from Ms. Alonso, and I have a question for Mr. Helms real quick. Mr. Malonson.
Hey, Mr. Helms. In the list we have, are the lists put together and decided? I mean, there are obviously like a lot of Move Ascension jobs in here. But what was how did we prioritize them?
It's a multi-layered prioritization process. One really comes from whether the funds are available or not. Two is the importance of the project. The Energy Transition Parkway, kind of jumps up pretty high because of the need to provide access to the land over there for the upcoming industrial development. And for the roundabout projects, it's where, kind of where we were in design, right-of-way acquisition, and utility relocation.
So if a project is not on here, then, I mean, I guess we could always come back an amendment, but if a project's not on here, it's not on our radar through 2026. As far as, like adding turning lanes or anything like that.
There is discussion on getting those turn lanes as a project. We just don't have costs for that yet.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Helms. Do we have any other questions? Any objections? All right, we'll move that to council for approval. Item FF, contract report. Everybody got contracts emailed to us the other day. If y'all have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Ms. Dawn or legal, and they'll be glad to assist you with that. No. Item 6A, monthly report of new positions added to the Ascension Parish Government Classification Plan in the month of February 2024. Ms. Kaysen?
Hi, good evening. May I assume you all have the report I submitted? Okay, all righty. So in the month of February, we had 4 positions added. The first 2, Deputy Chief Administrative Officer and Director of Governmental Affairs. These 2 were added and filled internally, and the positions have not and will not be filled behind, at least not anytime soon. The culvert inspector is a EAD requirement that we work together to put together to more closely align the position with the actual duties performed. The web and digital media manager, that position is actually a redescription of a position that was on the classification plan. It was the web designer, and that position has been deleted. So it's actually really just 3 new positions and 1 redescription. Any questions at all?
Any questions for Ms. Kaysen? Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Oh, Chase has a question.
Just one quick.
Yes, sir?
On the future updates, Ms. Kaysen, whenever we have a redescription, can we also have the old description? That way we have an idea of what job was replaced with the new one?
Sure.
Like you just said, the web and digital media manager was what?
It was the web designer.
Web designer, yeah. That's it. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Moving on to item 6B, budget amendment number 1, approval to amend the 2024 budget. Ms. Dawn. I have a motion for Mr. Malonson. And a second from Ms. Alonso. Do I have any questions? Do we have any objections? All right, you got lucky. And item C, financial update, open finance. As always, we have our finances on our website, so feel free to take a look at them. And if you have any questions, obviously reach out to our finance team. They'll be glad to help you. Item 7. I have a motion to adjourn in a second. Any objections? Awesome. Thank you for a wonderful meeting, everybody.